everybody, and welcome back to another Hooked on Hitchcock with your host, Jonathan Moody, and I'm here with
Gee, Larry Butler.
G. Larry Butler. All
Another
right. Woohoo. Uh,
another
what?
another G episode.
Yes,
Okay.
another. Let's G it up.
Gee whiz.
Um, Gee whiz. I like it. Um, so we're gonna be talking about the 19s, was it 60 something? 1960 what? Nine. Whoa, 69 movie. Topaz, which I think is like the second to last film he ever did, if I'm correct. Um, uh,
Seriously?
yes, or second or third.
1969?
Yeah,
What did he make in 1970?
I think
Okay.
well, I think his last movie was 1980, right? So I think this was one of the last ones. Um, Let
Huh,
me just look that up to be. Okay, Frenzy was the
okay.
second to last one, and that was 72. And then 76 was the last one for Family Plot, you know. So this was
Okay.
the second to
Well,
last.
that was family plot was very appropriate because he ended up in one.
At the end,
So
yeah. At the
yeah,
after it was done. So
they
yeah, so we'll
fell
we'll
in the
get to that
hole.
at some point. I think that comes in next season, or it might come this season, but I think it's next season. Um, But for now, we're
Okay.
going to be talking about Topaz, which has like barely any recognizable names in the movie, you know? Um,
Yeah, true. Well, at least in this country.
right. Frederick Stafford, I think, was a big hit
In
uh
France.
in France. And John Forsythe, I had recognized
Oh,
him when I
yeah, he
saw him.
he became a big name. He was never a huge name like a John Wayne, but he was a middle of the road A-lister. He had his own TV series, stuff
Oh,
like
cool.
that, and I can't remember what it was, but he had a couple of them.
Cool.
So, yeah, one was played by Karen Dorr.
Oh, I loved
I
her.
just
She was my
adore,
favorite.
I adore her.
I know, and I mean, I'm using the backdrop of her, her death. By the way, one of my friends, one of my friends, so I posted that I was watching this, and they go, and this is a spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. My friend didn't tell me spoiler alert before he said that she died from like her death scene was the best scene in the whole movie, and I said, damn it, I haven't got to that part yet. And he goes, oops, spoiler alert. I'm like, thanks,
Wait a minute.
jackass.
When did
What?
she die? I don't recall that. Oh, Juanita. Yeah, she did die. I'm
Yeah,
thinking of Nicole. Nicole, the wife of Andre, which is Danny Robin.
yeah, yeah. Juanita died
Yeah,
or whatever, but the
yeah,
other
Juanita. Yeah.
the other girl
Well,
did
we're on.
not.
Don't spoil it.
Well, we
Um,
just did, so it's
well,
okay.
don't say how,
Okay.
or did you?
Uh,
I don't. Not yet. Anyway, that was kind of a surprise to me too. But
Good. But nobody
what?
told you about it before it happened. That pissed me
No,
off.
I wasn't. That's why I distance myself from people like that because they spoil everything. So anyway, I'm the only one in my family that saw it, so nobody could spoil it. My daughter's usually the one that tells me the endings to a
Yeah.
movie before I
Oops.
even watch it. So why do I even need to watch it now? So it's infuriating for people to do that.
Yep.
Some people enjoy spoiling the whole thing for you.
So was this your first time like watching this? Had you not seen this before?
Well, it's the first time in my life, but I
Right.
watched it two or three times
Okay.
because it's just so confusing. I mean, hopefully that's not a spoiler, but anybody who sees this, you better be prepared to take notes because it's so many characters and so many plot twists. And
I don't think it was that confusing, but
well, to me, it just was a little befuddling, and I had to watch it. Well, see, the first time I watched it with my wife, and I couldn't take notes. because it would, because I take a lot of notes and I stop it all the time. So she wouldn't have been happy with that. So I didn't even know what I was watching, and I can't hear worth a damn. So I had to use subtitles, and they weren't working right, and those accents. My God, I thought, oh, forget it. But it's the
Well,
second time I had it nailed down, so
this
it made more sense to me.
the subtitles worked for mine, because I have the 4K of it. So there you go.
You know what?
That's
You know what I had to do? I
what
had to go to Universal and Netflix. Universal paid $3.99, but it was through Universal.
nice.
It's a very strange platform,
Well, hey,
but
you did it.
I did. I got it done. I had to complete my assignment. If I get a good grade in this class, I have to do the homework.
Hitchcock
So I
class.
yeah. So anyway, it was a interesting movie,
Hmm.
and so do you want to do the plot,
Um, so
or do you want me to?
let me read the back of this, and then we'll go into more detail. But
All right. Okay.
it says considered one of the more experimental films from Hitchcock. Topaz is a riveting story of adventure and international intrigue, responding to rumors of Russian missiles and a NATO spy called Topaz. An American CIA agent, played by John Forsythe, hires French operative Devereaux, played by Frederick Stafford, to investigate in Cuba. In Havana, Devereaux's investigation becomes dangerous, leaving behind a wake of shaking governments, murder, betrayal, and suicide. This lavish production from the master of suspense exposes one of the most explosive spy scandals ever filmed. You know,
Oui, oui.
I mean, what's funny is my brother. Well, I told my brother we were doing this today, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we used to have that Betamax, back in the day for this." And I go, "Oh my God, I totally forgot. We used to have this movie all the time. I never watched it because it just sounded like something I had no interest in."
Yeah, yeah. Well, you were a kid, right?
I was a kid. I was like, Topaz. It's not, isn't that a
Yeah,
color or something, Like I had like
yeah.
no interest in that. It might as well have been
So,
called beige. And
yeah, you were probably playing in the sandbox. You couldn't be bothered with the
well, it's
movies.
Betamax, so yeah. I mean, I was watching stuff like Terminator 2, Judgment Day, and stuff like that.
Oh, oh.
I was not watching Hitchcock's 2.5 hour long espionage thriller.
Yeah, I had the patience for that.
I know it's 2.5 hours long. I was like, Jesus, this is like one of the longest, I think it is the longest Hitchcock movie, you know.
Huh?
Um and it's
Could be.
honestly, for a 2.5 hour movie, it's okay. Like, I'm happy to have the 4K and everything for it. Like, I'll have all the 4Ks that Hitchcock does, but like it's it's okay. Like, this movie did not blow me away. Like, it was fun. That the big scene,
Yeah.
some of the big scenes, those are good, but like, all in all, like, is this a movie that I'm gonna want to watch over and over and over and over and over again? Probably not.
Right. Yeah. Well, the more I watched it, the more I appreciated it. That seems to be the case in most of the movies. I, if you only see it once, you miss some of the little things that make it more fun and relevant, and you can put the pieces together easier the more you watch it.
Okay.
So, anyway, um, so it starts out with this Russian bigwig. He's kind of what the hell is he? Deputy chief of KGB, right?
That's right.
Na- Name's Boris. It starts with a K. I can't really pronounce his last name, but
Well, let me see if I can
anyway,
pronounce it.
he's if I could see it somewhere, but I didn't write it down. Um, anyway, Boris K. Well, he's kind of an unknown actor as well, but I mean, he's really good in this. He's upset with the Russians for, their violent display of force with their tanks and, bazookas and all of that. So he wants
Kuzanov.
to escape.
Boris Kuzanov.
Kusanov, yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to escape to America with his family,
Mm-hmm.
but easier said than done. So they have kind of a problem. And he's very upset with the Americans because they're kind of clumsy at how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is they go to Copenhagen, which is in Denmark, and they're shopping and they're doing the tourist stuff, and they have bodyguards to make sure that they come back to Russia. They're on vacation, so they try to shake the tail. The two guys that are following them, and they go to a museum, and they try to lose them. They go down certain alleys and stuff, and then the girl gets this wise idea, the daughter, to break something. She drops a Hummel, a little figurine, and then she goes to pay for it. And instead of paying, the woman takes her into a back room and she calls the U.S. spy network, the CIA, and arranges a meeting at a place called Pen Premente, Den Premente. It's some kind of a little souvenir shop. So they they run out the front door. The two guys are hot on their heels, but the Americans step in front of them. And every time the Russians try to get by them, the Americans step even more in front of them. So it's kind of comedic in a way.
Yep, I saw
No,
that. I thought
no,
that was kind of funny.
no expression. It's just right in their way. And I thought, and nowadays they'd pull a gun and blast away, but they didn't do it.
Well,
More
they
polite.
almost did. The one guy pulls out a gun and is about to, but they stop him
Right.
before he's able
Okay.
to.
Right, right. And then she collides with a bicycle. There's a bicycle riding by, and she falls over it, and then they almost catch her. And then the Americans throw her in the car, and away they go.
And away
And
they go. Yep.
and then the father's a little pissed. He's a very grumpy guy. Of course, I think Russians, as a rule, especially in that time, that era, were very grumpy people because they were miserable. They had no real life to live under a dictator. Anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
I won't go anywhere with that. Um, and so they fly them back to America, and then they find a safe house for them, and outside of Washington D.C. in the outskirts, and it's a very beautiful mansion. And so the guy can't even believe it. He says, "This is for us." I said, "Yeah, well, temporarily anyway."
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what they want him to do is reveal certain secrets about the Russians. And so he's really grumpy and reluctant, but he does it. He knows he wants to stay in America with it for his family's sake. And so they um, they ask him to verify certain documents, which
Mm-hmm.
he does. Some are fake, some are real. But he keeps noticing this name on the documents, right? Of I think it was the hell was his name? Um, not Jacques Granville. That's the head guy, but Jarry, I think, wasn't it? Some guy
I
named
think something.
Jarry.
Yeah, Jarry. Yeah.
I don't know his first name, but um, oh, Henry Jarry. So he's the French mole, and now he has a connection with Boris. And I don't want to get into that yet because that's later on. That's the biggest surprise. Um, so then, while they're doing that, Mike, who is an American CIA agent and played by John Forsythe, Mike is friends with Andre. played by Andre by Frederick Stafford. So they're really good friends. They trust each other. They like each other. And Andre's wife Nicole doesn't want him involved with the Americans because she keeps thinking like, why should you be involved in the Cold War between the French and between the Russians and the Americans? And he says, well, in this in this situation, nobody can be neutral. So he does go along with it, even though sometimes he's a little irritated because Mike shows up at inopportune moments, like they're
Right.
ready to go out to dinner with friends, and
And
it's
then
just
yeah, she had to make dinner for him or whatever and
right.
stuff, which she was not. She didn't want it because I mean, I think she just wanted a normal day where he wasn't doing something, spy related, or whatever, like
Mhm.
he was just plus, I mean, you find out more information, but like they're having marital issues already, and
Right.
stuff.
Well, she
Uh
suspects him of having an affair with a lady in Cuba,
right, which she didn't
one
know
of his
much about
contacts.
except for somebody like one of the girls that she knew
Yeah, right.
told him
One
about
of the
him.
gossip queens. There's gossip queens that tell her everything that she doesn't know already, and he
Right.
doesn't tell her anything. So he's very secretive.
Yeah.
But her
He's a
her
secret agent.
girlfriends tell him a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. So anyway, well, so then let's see. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but he he meets with a general and his boss. There's the I'm not sure if they were French spies or just attachés to the embassy, but
Mhm.
he becomes a spy for the Americans. But
Right.
anyway, he meets with this general. At first, I think he's in cahoots with the Russians, but that's not true. It's people that are French related to French spies, and so they think that he's a little too chummy with the Americans. They'd rather he'd be more standoffish, but he can't help it. He's a good friend of Mike's.
Well, real
So
quick, do you
yeah,
realize how awesome this is? Because this was a movie about the Cold War during the Cold War. The Cold War was still happening, and yet this movie is about stuff that was going on at that time. It's fictional, but it was like stuff that was going on at that time,
yeah,
or whatever,
right,
like similar stuff that was going on. So it would be like if somebody made a movie about the war in Ukraine right now, all the while the war in Ukraine is happening, right? Like somebody made a war
yeah.
movie, or a spy movie about a spy going into Ukraine or something like that. But like Hitchcock would do that, Hitchcock, I thought that was interesting.
In all fairness, though, it was 7 years after the fact. In 1962 is the crisis where we could have all been
Yeah.
blown to hell and gone. And
Yeah, it was the
I was 12 years old. I was just a kid, so I didn't even realize it. Um, I was oblivious to this. And it wasn't until later that some people said, "You realize how close we were to being nuked by Cuba?" And Khrushchev, finally pulled them out, but it was touch and go for a while. And
mm,
you got to hand it to Kennedy for staring him down, and calling his bluff.
hmm
And then Khrushchev wanted to go to Disneyland after he did it. They thought he thought we should reward him. But you know what they did? They said, there's not enough security. You're not going." So
yeah,
they
good.
punished him. Yeah,
He's not allowed
he
to go to
never got to go.
Disneyland. Yeah, well,
He
punk.
never got to go. It
Good.
was really
Good. Almost
upset of
tried to
him. But,
kill us, and then he's like, "Oh, let me
well,
go hang out."
yeah,
Actually, it's funny. This is sort of not, not the same thing exactly, but this dude told like a friend of mine, a personal friend of mine, his was it his Walgreens that he worked at got robbed at gunpoint. He wasn't
uh,
there. He was off that day. So he
oh
had
my
heard
God,
about it, right? And he knew the guy that did it. That guy that did it would go to Walgreens all the time with a big smile on his face and act like everything's just fine. And then he went and did that. And then guess what? His baby mama was there the next day. Like the great guy's girlfriend came in the next
Uh-huh.
day to buy stuff at Walgreens as if everything was just fine, that her boyfriend didn't just try to rob the place at gunpoint. Is that
Oh
messed up?
God.
Like that to me reminds me of that guy, that the Khrushchev guy deciding, oh, let me go to Disneyland even though I'm about to fucking wipe you all out, you know.
Well,
You know,
how, how did he find out about that? About who did it?
the guy got
Somebody
arrested.
squeal?
No, so the guy
Oh, he
guy
got
guy got
arrested.
arrested, and
Okay.
they because he was at gunpoint and he was also I think he had a mask on at the time, and they arrested him, and then the guy, he knew exactly who the guy was, and everything. So it's just
Oh,
crazy, you know.
what a
Uh,
world. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, but anyway, that reminded me of that. But
right.
keep going.
Okay, so Andre calls Mike and they meet a little bit later. And the Mike wants Andre to go to Cuba and find out the truth about the rumor that Russians are placing missiles.
Well, I
And,
think you forgot a step though. Didn't you
okay,
have to go to New York and meet with the guy? Did we
no, that
discuss
was
it?
after. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, first their meeting where they talked about what he needed to do. And
Right.
then at the end of the meeting, he does tell him, well, you have to, because the head guy for the Cubans, what the hell was his name?
He was
He
played
doesn't
by,
like America.
yeah.
Para, Para, right? Something
I
Para.
think
So
so. He
yeah,
doesn't
he
like
doesn't.
Americans, but he's played
He,
by he played by a guy I love, but I can't.
yeah, he's a great actor, American actor.
Yeah, he's an American actor. Yeah, John
Michael
Vernon.
Papali.
No,
Huh?
John Vernon played Para.
Johnson.
And
Okay.
the funny thing is, he was the dean in Animal House.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But it's so
Well,
funny and weird,
he's a big tough guy, so he always plays tough no matter what.
right. But he did a
Either
great job. And then the guy who was his what was it? Basically his Luis Urubi
okay,
was his.
no, wait. You're getting ahead of yourself. Well, anyway, his name was Rico Para in the movie, the Cuban officer.
Hmm.
Now, let me explain why Mike couldn't go down there himself. He's American CIA. Well, the fact of it is, Para had caught all the American spies, either killed them or put them in prison. It said that in the movie. So that's why they wanted a French guy to go down there because the Cubans like the French. So,
Well, I saw it differently than that,
you know,
actually. Yeah. So
okay.
I remember him talking to the guy and saying, I can't go there because the assistant to the guy's, the Perry's assistant is the one who can get all that information. He has access to all this information. The only way you can get it, he's the one who doesn't like Americans, and he won't talk to an American.
No,
So,
both of them didn't like Americans. Both of them
well,
hated
maybe, but
Americans. They,
uh, but maybe both of them didn't, but
okay,
he wasn't able, but he wasn't going to be able to get that stuff from Perry. He had to get it from the assistant to get it from Perry, you
right.
know.
Let's back up. I was getting to that point. But see, that's why when you see it twice, you can really hone in on the subtleties. And that's when I realized, first time I didn't understand any of it. And then finally, Uribe was the one, he was the guy with the glasses and the kind of the geeky guy. And he was the assistant to Para. Para was kind of the brute in charge,
Mm-hmm.
but the other guy was more refined, more intellectual. But he hated America too because he lost a son
Mm-hmm.
in the conflict. And they mentioned that. It's like, oh wow. But he did love money. So that's the only reason he would do it. They both hated Americans, but Pera didn't want the money. He was a communist. Uribe did. So they figured, aha, we have a possibility with him. It was
Mm,
still kind of dicey, but then the French guy figured out, oh wow, I can't go up there because Pera knows me. So they have to get an in-between guy.
mm-hmm.
This black guy named, oh, what the hell is his name? Philippe Dubois, who's from Marrakech or something like that. It's a French territory. So
And it
he
was
became
played
the
by
go-between.
Roscoe Lee Brown from I
Yeah,
think he was in like I swear to God he was in like Coming to America or something. Like
yeah, he's been in everything. I
yeah.
remember him from a lot of stuff. I don't know if he was in Rouge, but he was in a lot of big things. And a great actor. It was a joy to see him. And he had a flower shop. That was his cover, I guess, or maybe he just straight job. And they did like displays of flowers. Like somebody dies, they do a cross with flowers on it, and for weddings. So the French guy goes over, Andre, and he convinces him to be a go-between.
Mm,
And so uh, he goes over across the street, and Andre's in the street looking up because he doesn't want to be spotted. So he's on the sidewalk on the other side of the street. There's a lot of crowd. They're celebrating Cuban independence, and all of that. And so the Philippe goes up with the Uribe. Uribe at first doesn't want to do it. So it's all pantomime. You don't hear anything. And they kind of go back and forth, and he starts to go back up. Then he convinces him to come back down, and he pats his chest like, I got the money right here. So then he changes his mind and takes Uribe. Uribe takes Philippe up. And so as soon as they get there, the hallway's full of people, right?
all right.
All
And
these
guards.
Cubans and stuff, and guards. And there was a red-headed guy. I'm like, what the
I
hell's
love
a
that guy.
Viking doing in Cuba? But then my wife said, no, there are Viking people in Cuba too. I mean, it was a cross section. So he had flaming red hair and beard. It was so funny because he was set apart from the other Cubans.
Yeah.
So they get up there, and as soon as they get there, they knock on a door, and two guys hurry out, and Parra is screaming at them. He says, damn you, bomb the Statue of Liberty. Are you crazy trying to get us killed and arrested? Like, oh my God. So he doesn't want to do anything that will get him really in trouble while he's in America. He'll wait till he gets back home and then they can blow up America. But he doesn't want to
Mm-hmm.
do it before he leaves. So, and then they try to get an interview with him. And he says, no interviews. I don't do interviews. And then Philippe plays the race card. He goes, what are you, anti-Negro? And it's like, oh my God, that was brilliant. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, Cuba is not racist. Pera says, there's no color berries in Cuba. And then he's more receptive, you see. He kind of played the race card on him. And so he says, I'm from Ebony Magazine. And, that's a black-owned magazine.
Mm-hmm. I remember
And
Ebony.
anyway, so yeah, I know. So he wanted to do Playboy, but the Andre thought it'd be better to go Ebony. So and so then they go outside, and he takes a couple of pictures of Para waving at the crowd, and then he wants to do something else. He says, no, keep waving, because if he turns around, he'll see Uribe stealing the red suitcase, red attaché case with the contract, the plans for missiles in Cuba.
Uh-huh.
And you know what was brilliant about this? Hitchcock did a slow take on stealing that suitcase. He did it really slow. He milked the suspense. He's really good at that. But I thought, my God, it's taking forever for that guy to get out the door with it. And then Para on the balcony kept turning around, and the other guy says, no. I just want two more. Don't turn around. So
Yeah.
it was the whole thing was deliciously suspenseful. I loved it. So then they go
Deliciously
down the
suspenseful.
hall, and start taking pictures of it, right, in the dark room, pictures of all the notes. And then the only problem was the guy took so long to get out the door. The guy typing noticed him. And when Paris said, "Where's my briefcase?" And he says, "Well, Rippy took it down the hall to room 115." And he went, "Oh my God." You could see his eyes like getting really tense. And he says, "Do you have my gun?" So he gets a gun and he goes down there and
With
you
the
don't
with the
see him kill
red-haired
him.
Viking guy. They both go down, I
Yeah.
believe.
Oh, that's right. He gets it from him. Right.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
they
he got
go
a
down.
great treatment.
So they go down to Aribe's place, and Aribe and the other guy, the black guy, are both there. They didn't lock. I don't think they even locked the door. I
Right.
don't know if they could or not.
I don't
They
think they did either.
Yeah, so then they got in there and saw what they were doing, and the black guy got what he needed, so he hightailed it out as
He
quickly as
jumped
he
out
could.
the he
Jumped out the
jumped out the
window.
window,
Jumped
and
out the
then he
window.
bounced off the awning. Had to be a stunt guy.
Yeah, oh,
He
yeah, of
bounced,
course.
he fell and bounced off the awning, and then landed on his feet on the street.
That was actually pretty cool for like you
It
don't really
was
see
a
a
cool.
lot of stunts in Hitchcock movies unless
That
they're
was a
like
cool stunt.
walking on whatever the you know uh in a Statue of Liberty or on a Mount Rushmore or something. But even those
Hanging
those are
by.
like fake sets and no real danger for the people, and stuff.
Right.
Whereas opposed to this, that looked like somebody really jumped onto a thing and bounced right off, and everything. I love that. I thought that was a great little scene. And
Now,
then he
now as soon
runs.
as he,
Yep.
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say
You
as he
said,
runs, the guy runs with the information and everything. He bumps,
no, no,
purposely.
no. Why is he running now? Who's
Oh, because he's
after him?
being chased by the
He's being chased by 15 Cubans.
yeah,
So he runs for his life and he collides with Andre
on purpose. To
on
give him
purpose.
the
And
to give him the thing, to give him the
he
stuff.
puts the
Yeah.
camera in his hand, and then they both escape, but not before he's helped up by the redheaded guy. Andre's helped up, so he gets a good picture of him. He gets a good idea of what he looks like, and that comes into play later in the movie. So anyway, and then right after that, what happens?
Right after that, I guess Andre goes back to his to because he's in New York with his family or whatever, and he's going to go see his wife and kid and her husband, I guess. Husband?
Okay.
I think it was husband,
Well,
right?
yeah, his brother, his son-in-law. He
Son-in-law.
he plays a big part in this movie later on too.
He does
But
later, but yeah, for a little
you
bit
know,
there.
yeah, we'll get to that. But Andre leaves for Cuba,
Yeah.
and a few days later, right, to meet his contact Juanita de Cordoba,
Well,
their
we
secret
gotta
lover.
mention, like, because we did talk about how that the gossip queen and lady and everything like that. She knows he going down there, he's going to meet the woman. He's going to meet his lover, and everything. And so he kind of knows that, like, that's might be the end of their relationship after that if he leaves
Oh,
to
I
go to
don't think he
Cuba.
suspects that yet, but he does know he's in trouble because she won't even say goodbye to him.
Yeah. Yep.
And so he goes to kiss her, and then she just freezes up,
Yeah.
and
She
then
doesn't know.
she goes upstairs. So anyway, so he uh, he does go to Cuba, but he tells his wife that she's really an important contact. Of course, lie, lie, lie.
No,
But
no,
she
no.
is. She's the
No, I
head of
mean
the under.
she's a very important contact. He's not lying about that.
Well,
He's
no, she's the head of the underground. But
right.
but yeah, but that he doesn't. He glosses over the fact that she's a lover. He
Right.
just
Well, he's
like
not
he
gonna,
kind of emphasizes. Of course, like any man would say that.
well,
Well, the
I
only
mean,
reason I'm there.
you don't want to admit it, then
No,
that's it.
but
Right?
he just keeps hammering away, even though you can see it in her eyes. She doesn't believe a word he says.
Mm,
But not just a contact. But
Oh, they
he
contact.
decides to go. He he he's going to go anyway, no matter what she does or thinks. So she's the head of the underground against the Castro regime, simply because Castro, if you know anything about history, made that island a prison, and
Mm-hmm.
he's very strict and very authoritarian, ruthless. He was worse than the guy he replaced in certain ways. The other guy was corrupt, with the gambling, the casinos, the prostitution, and this and that. But Castro's really, very strict morally, and puts you in jail for anything, and he makes people disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so anyway, Andre brings a present to Juanita, and he meets uh, Para at her house, right? When he
Mm-hmm.
first walks in. And it's like, oh. And then, of course, Farah didn't see him there in the street. So anyway, they know each other because he's been down there many, many times.
But yeah,
So,
and he did not see him on the street, but
right, he
yeah,
was reminded of that later by the redheaded guy, but we won't, that's later on.
yeah.
But any inside of the present is a remote control camera, Geiger counter, tape recorder, and he just tells her, "I brought you some nylons. I hope you won't object to that, Para, because we have nylons in America and you don't have them here." Um, so he says, "Okay, don't worry about it." He didn't stay to look what was in there. So she's
Mm-hmm.
got all the equipment she needs to take pictures of the missiles being taken off Russian freighters
Mm-hmm.
and putting in place because they're going to be able to focus on any American city they want. And we were
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of trouble. So Juanita's assistants take photos of Havana Bay with the Russian ships unloading the missiles. And they hid the cameras and stuff in sandwiches with bread and meat.
Mm-hmm.
But they just threw the bread away, and guess what? The seagulls took them up in their beaks and flew over the soldiers that were in the bottom of the hill.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a little suspicious. And they looked up there and saw the two. I don't know if they saw them taking pictures, but they went up to investigate. And so the Cuban security spotted the seagulls first and then them later. And they saw them running down the hill and they shot, thinking they missed. But apparently, one of the bullets got one of the woman. They're a married couple, I believe. They've got the woman in the arm, and then they caught him on the other side of the hill when they came
Like
down.
pretending like they
But
were had a
they,
like their car had broken down, you know.
yes, yeah. But one of the soldiers spotted the blood leaking from her arm on the
Mm-hmm.
ground, so
Yep.
they arrested him. And what was really funny is because they had another person that wasn't caught. This old, vaquero, this old guy on a mule came and unscrewed the pipe on the railing on the little bridge they were on and took out the camera
Mm-hmm.
and took it back to Juanita. And so anyway, it was funny. But the two man and a woman were arrested and tortured. Um, so that was really sad. And she
Mm-hmm.
fingered Juanita because she was still alive, barely.
Well, that was
She
actually
whispered,
that's after I think, right? Because you're jumping a little ahead because after those two people got caught, there was there was suspicion of what's going on, and the guy with the orange beard and everything mentioned what's his name, Devereaux being at that place and everything. So my one of my favorite scenes in the movie, other than some of the death
"Oh, well,
scenes,
the rally? Does that
no, no,
come
no,
in between? Do
no.
they go back and forth, right?"
I'm talking about when they are at the dinner, and whatever, the Juanita and what's his name are at dinner, and what's his the landlord, which was the boss guy, Para, comes in and has this like chat with both of them about what's going on, and says this guy is bad, right? Like he needs to leave. He needs to go back to France, and if we catch anything of yours, you're dead, right? And
Well,
so
I thought the rally came first because how else would he know that he was
right, well,
seen?
that's true.
The redhead guy spotted him.
Right. Okay. Yes, the
Yeah,
rally came
that comes
first.
first. Yeah, that right afterwards. So the redheaded guy, I don't know what the hell his name is, but he's okay. Rico warns Andre. That's his first name, Rico Para. He knows he's an intelligence officer. His cover is blown because the redheaded soldier tells him he spotted him in the crowd, and that's the guy that he helped up the night that they collided. And so anyway, now he suspects him, and he says he doesn't want Juanita implicated due to her being a widow of a war hero. So he accuses uh, Juanita of being in resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but that no, that's even later. So he doesn't want him to, but he does threaten him. He says, "I'm going to send you away." And then she really gets mad. She says, "How dare you insult him like that?" You know, and you're just jumping to conclusions. And so he leaves, and she tells him off, and so he Para leaves. He's kind of pissed off, but he because she tells him, you have no idea what you're talking about. Of course, she's lying too, but um, so anyway, well, this is getting confusing. I think I the first time I wrote some notes, and second time I wrote some notes afterwards. So
Right.
um, that's what I um, she told him that to just get out of there, and oh, he tells him that if if it wasn't for her, I would you would disappear.
Oh,
I'd
wow.
I'd make you disappear. But she objects. She says, "You're a damn fool. We made up stories because of you made up stories because of jealousy over me. I will raise hell if you take Andre now, and you know I can." And so the next morning, Andre wants Juanita to leave with him. Of course, she'll never leave. She said, "This is my home." And she said she wants to tell him something. Now, I never did figure out what it was. And I'm thinking that maybe she was pregnant with his baby. And she wants to tell him something, but she never got to that point because she was killed. But anyway, so they're suspected at this point, at least Andre is. Um, and so yeah.
And by
I,
the way, the guy, Hernandez was the guy with the beard and everything. The guy with the like red beard and everything. Guess
yeah,
what? He's played Indians, like or Native Americans
yeah.
in films and stuff. And so he's played Native Americans. He's played, I guess, Cubans, or because his name is Carlos Rivas, you know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but he was in True Grit. He was in The King and I. He was in The Madmen of Manduras. He was in Gypsy. Um, he was in a lot of stuff. Um,
Uh-huh.
and he was in a lot of television. Um, Hang Your Hat on the Wind. I mean, this dude also he was in They Saved Hitler's Brain, which is something we did for Indie Film Cafe. So kind of funny
Uh-huh.
that an indie film cafe actor was in a good Hitchcock movie too. You know,
Wow. I know.
you
I
know.
didn't realize I'd seen him in all those movies.
Yeah, he's been a lot, and he does not look. If you look his picture up, it does not look anything like the red hair guy you saw. But if you look at other pictures, you can definitely tell it's the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
he's a versatile actor.
Okay.
All right,
Oh,
so all right,
okay. So
so
where were we? I don't know. Ri-
um, So I know. Did we kind of talk or briefly, like, so he whatever they sent the guy out to the Devereaux or whatever to go back home, right? To go back to I guess he's I is he going to New York or is he going back
Well,
to
he didn't go home yet.
yeah,
We're
he went back
still
to New York, I think.
in Cuba. He's facing certain death because they discover the film placed in these little razor things,
Hmm.
right? The handles of them, and or at least they suspect they are,
Yeah, and you
and they
kind of
know
get
that you could
told
do
what,
that.
yeah, they kind of tell you how it can be. Like he tells one of the guys explains to him what all this stuff is and
Right,
how, how it works and everything.
right. So then he calls down to the airport and he says, "If you find the film in those things, hold him. Don't let him get on the plane because that's certain death. He's gonna make him disappear." So, unbeknownst to Andre, he's given a going away gift by his girlfriend, Juanita, before she's dispatched. And she hides the film inside the inside cover of the book she gave him.
Hmm.
And so when he looks on the plane after he gets away, he says, "How did I ever escape? They checked all the equipment and it should have been there." And of course, it wasn't. She had removed it and put it in the book. So another plot twist. It was great.
It was
So she saved his
perfect
life.
because, it confused me too because I was like, wait a minute. So that didn't happen, like, and everything. But no,
Right,
she had helped him, basically escape,
right.
which was really
So
nice considering she didn't get to escape.
so that's what happened there. And then Parra knows that she's involved, and he says, I don't want you being tortured. You're a beautiful body, and so he shoots her.
Well, how did
Right
he
in mid
know?
sentence.
Because that woman that he was torturing told him,
Yeah,
and that was a great
she
scene.
told. Yeah, she fingered him right
Yeah.
after it happened. After they got tortured, she could barely get those words out. She just
But she
whispered
said,
them.
yeah, but
I,
she said Juanita, and did that whole thing, and he was like, he
right.
was super. The look on his face, on the Perry's face when he finds out it's his, that it's that guy loved her, like had a crush on her, and you
Well,
know,
yeah. I mean, she was sleeping with both of them. It was like a menage a trois. But
no, because wouldn't that mean that they're sleeping together? No, no, that didn't happen.
I think they were. I really do. She was with Para when the other guy wasn't there,
Right, but
but
I'm
he
saying not
came
at the
five
same
times a year.
time, you know.
No, not the same time, but
That's
they
usually
they
what a
were.
menage a trois means, but all right.
Oh well, not necessarily. It
Okay.
depends on if you're in town. Then remember when he said, "Look, I want to have dinner with this guy tonight. Get out of here."
Yeah.
So he knew they're going to sleep together.
Right.
But when the other guy wasn't in town, which is only five times a year, he was the main boyfriend. And I figured, how could he have put up with that, being such a brute, and everything, and so powerful? How could he have tolerated that? But he did. So, I mean, it was a different time, different culture.
Yeah.
So, but they were, frenemies. They were friends with their enemies at the same time because over her.
Yeah.
So anyway, so she's dead. Andre escapes with his life, goes back to Washington, D.C., and then he finds out he's in deep shit. He's in a
Hmm.
lot of trouble because of all the loose ends he left in Cuba. So his boss tells him, "Look, you got to go to Paris. His Paris group wants you right there. And then you have to explain yourself to him." And so just when you think it's almost over, it starts again, another quarter of the movie. But he says, "I really don't want to go, but they said, well, you have to go. There's no ifs and buts about it." So then Mike and he talk, and he says, "Well, while you're there, maybe you can tell them there's been a leak to Topaz." Topaz is two of the people, one or two of the people are leaking information to the Russians. So he says, okay, I'll go. And then he has a meeting with his friends and he tells them about what happened in Cuba and everything and what his suspicions are. And did you notice the look on Jaret's face? He doesn't react at all. He's just completely stone faced, where the other
Mhm.
people are going, "Oh my God, are you kidding?" And he's just like, "Well, he's in on it. He's
Yep.
the mole." Jaret was the one. And then his boss is even more so than he is. It's the
Hmm.
guy named Columbine,
Is the
which
guy,
we
yeah.
later find. I mean, there's like so many surprises in this.
And then they
And
all
he ends
like
up,
he has a dinner with all of them or whatever, like a lunch, has lunch with all of them in this restaurant and explains things. And then one of the guy he tests one of the guys, because he knows one of the dudes is the mole, is part of this group. And so he says something to him, but the guy tries to like call
oh,
his
yeah,
bluff
that's right.
and says, "Oh,
Oh, that's right.
it's what is it? That guy
Well,
died."
Boris.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, because he was talking about how Boris is telling him all these things. He said, no, Boris is dead. And he says, well, how would you know that? Right? And
right.
so he was like, call his bluff because everybody knows that he's still alive. Why would you even say that?
I don't. That was
So
what I was
it's
so
kind
confused as to why that guy even did that. And like later, he gets like a scolding from Columbine, kind
exactly,
of telling him like you shouldn't have done that. Now you've raised.
exactly.
But
You
but
implicated yourself.
but that scene where he's telling him that made me so worried for that guy because I thought, and I don't know if you thought this too when you first watched it, but I thought he poisoned him with his glass
Well,
of
I did too.
the
But
liquor.
that's Hitchcock. Just
Yeah,
when you think that you know what's going to happen, it's
you
not going
don't.
to happen.
Yeah,
It's
but you're
too
like
obvious.
waiting.
That,
You're
that
waiting for
would
it
have
to
been too
happen though.
obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was going to kill him later on. So
Yep.
what really I liked most of all was that Andre's wife shows up and Jarre and she exchange glances and he goes in when she's going out and she kisses Columbine, who happens
Mm-hmm.
to be the best friend of Andre, her husband.
Mm-hmm.
He's Jacques, whatever his name was, from before. They were hunting buddies and climbing buddies and all of that. And his name was Jacques Granville, a French mole leader of Topaz, otherwise known as Columbine.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she, goes to bed with him. But I mean, it never shows anything. It just
Oh yeah, yeah.
implies. So anyway, it was really fascinating later on. The movie's not over yet. It's like one more surprise. And so Jure goes back home, and then this guy phones him and asks for an interview for some newspaper, right? And he's a sketch artist and a reporter. So he asks if he could sketch him while they do the interview. And he's asking him all these very interesting questions about how do you know all these things about Boris and this and that. Yeah, and he kind of like accuses him in a way,
Mm-hmm.
and Jure gets really upset. But what happens was the son-in-law. I never got his name. He
I'll,
comes a
I'll
little early. What?
I'll find it in
He,
2 seconds. Because there's was it the Francois Picard.
oh, Francois. Okay,
Yeah.
well, Francois pretends to be. Well, he's not. Doesn't really pretend. He really is a reporter, but he's not really working for the newspaper at the time. But he pretends to be. But he comes early. He comes at 8:30 instead of 9. And I'm thinking, you know what? If he'd been on time, it would have been too late because two men show up right before 9 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
and knock him on the head, the reporter, and throw Jure out the window. So killed. He lands on a car. face down.
And they try
And
to
so,
like implement it as suicide, try to make it look like a
yeah,
suicide, not a,
right.
you know.
But because it was bad timing, if just been a little later, that the reporter would have shown up at 9 and he would have already been dead. They wouldn't have gotten any information out of him. So it was a good thing he came early
Mm-hmm.
because Columbine, his boss, sent 2 men over to kill Zaray and knock the other guy in the head. I don't know why they didn't kill him too,
Oh
but
no, no,
they
because
took him.
they took him away and they're going to kill him, but they got distracted with something and he was able to get free. That's what he said. That's
Right,
what
they
he told the
kind of
guys.
kidnapped him and he escaped.
Yeah,
Um,
they were trying to figure out what
so
to do with him because he was an unexpected guest. They weren't expecting
yeah,
him to be there. They just wanted, uh Columbine
right,
just wanted him out. They didn't care about the son-in-law, or whatever.
right.
But they should
Yeah.
have.
So
They
anyway,
should have cared.
so the family goes back, right? Andre with his wife and daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that true?
Yep,
Then they
they're
go
back
back,
there. Back
and
to the
then
place.
there's a big surprise when they get there. Of course, they see the dead bodies and everything, and the son-in-law, I guess, comes over there too and tells him, I just got a little shot. He said, "What do you mean a little?" Oh, he said, "Just grazed his arm with a bullet. They shot at him,
Yeah, they
and
shot
so they
at us
wounded him.
as he was running off. As he
Yeah,
was,
they didn't really hit any vital organs. So what was I going to say? Uh, oh yeah, there was a big surprise because they were trying to figure out who this guy was and the phone number and everything and the wife goes, I know exactly what the phone number is because I was with him, and she confesses and Andre gets, you could see his face. He went, what? So you slept with my best friend?
well, I
Well, I
mean,
mean, it's only fair because you're
I
sleeping with that little hussy in Cuba.
I mean,
So
me personally, if I were doing something as nasty as what he was doing, I would be like, oh well, I guess that's my karma, like.
yeah, well, fair is fair. So anyway, so what happens after that?
So after that,
Uh,
what is it? They find out who it is, and basically they let the Americans know, who Columbine is, and everything, and it was
right.
his friend,
Oh, that's right. Yes. And they have this big meeting downtown that he
Yep.
was invited to. And as soon as he gets there, they said, they have a little kind of a hubbub, in the corner, and they go, we have to evict you because you're not welcome here.
Yep.
So,
And we'll tell you later. We'll tell you why later, but right now you need to go.
yeah, right.
And
So he,
yep.
he promptly goes home and shoots himself. So that was kind of abrupt. So
Oh, then I saw a different ending than you did. Because there were
what
alternate endings, by the way.
there were?
Yeah.
I didn't
So
know
there
that.
was there was three or four endings. One ending
Oh
I
no.
saw, this one I saw was his wife and him are at the plane and they look over and they said, the girl said, what, how is it that he just gets to go home, right? Instead of paying for the crimes that he did, and he says, well, basically him living with who he is crime enough, is punishment enough
Oh, he has
and
no
that kind of thing.
conscience.
Yeah, well, I
He
mean,
doesn't have.
right, but that's, but now
But
he's not allowed in, he can't do anything here, he's got nothing anymore. Like that's punishment enough, basically. Um,
I'll be darned.
and then one ending I heard of was a duel. They had a duel at the end, and that was the first ending that they shot and tested, and it tested awful. And it was a duel between, I guess, Devereaux and the other guy, his friend. We're gonna have a duel at the end, and instead, the bad guy, got shot instead, or whatever, by somebody else before the
Oh,
duel happened, or whatever. And
I'll
people
be
had
darned.
claimed that was a bad ending. So this had, I don't. alternate endings. So I don't know how many. It was like
So,
looked like four, endings.
well, let me tell you the ending I saw. Right after the meeting, the guy goes and you just see the door closing to his
Yeah,
house, and you hear a gunshot, and that's
yeah,
it. It's so
that's it. Yeah,
abrupt.
that's what
It's
I
like,
heard. That's what I heard too. It happens too as well. It's like he leaves,
so
goes to his
I didn't know
whatever.
uh,
Yeah.
they're trying to let the audience decide or what. I don't know
So
why that.
what happened
Sometimes they
was,
do.
yeah, so they did a test screening or a bunch of test screenings for it to see what people liked and everything. And nobody liked the duel. Most people liked my ending the most, right? With just him getting away with it in a way, like, the bad guy sort of wins but sort of doesn't win, Like
Well,
he's not
okay.
able to do the stuff he's able to do, but he was whatever. Um Let me see if I can find out what the other endings were because I
I didn't
know.
know that.
Um, yep. So the one you have is the one they mentioned in this thing.
That was the Universal ending from Universal Pictures.
Okay. So here's the critical reaction. So some American critics complained that there were no Hollywood stars. Okay, blah blah blah. I don't care about that. Let me see if they mention the alternate endings in this at all. Production. Da, 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 da. Um, all right. Under pressure from the studio, okay, hold on, wait. That's okay. Alternative versions and endings. So Hitchcock's first cut of the film ended with a duel between Devereaux and Granville in a French football stadium. It was shot by associate producer Herbert Coleman when Hitchcock had to return to the United States for a family emergency. Audience panned the ending during test screenings. They also said the film was far too long. Under pressure from the studio, Hitchcock shot a second ending that he actually liked better, with Granville escaping on an Aeroflot flight to the Soviet Union as Devereaux and Nicole board their adjacent Pan Am flight back to the United States. However, the ending apparently confused audiences. Also, screenwriter Samuel Taylor objected to the villain escaping unpunished, and there were fears that the ending would offend the French government. That's the one I saw. Um, as a compromise, Hitchcock used existing footage to create a third ending in which Granville is exposed and expelled from a NATO meeting. Over a shot of the exterior of his apartment, the sound of a gunshot tells that Granville commits suicide beyond his drawn curtains, since no footage of the suicide existed. The film was released theatrically with this third ending and was also edited down by nearly 20 minutes to the full length of 127 minutes, right? It's probably what you saw.
Mm,
I saw 2 hours and
okay.
23 minutes, I believe.
Wow,
Yeah, I saw a long
that's a
ass.
lot.
Yeah, I saw, I think, a little bit more than you did then. That might be why some of the stuff I'm saying to you makes you so confused as to, you know, uh, and maybe that's why things are confusing for you, because you saw a
Yeah,
cut.
maybe. I saw a different movie than you did, maybe.
I
Well,
think so.
basically, it's the same.
Yeah, basically the same movie, but like I think there's some scenes that I
They're
might have
edited
seen that,
differently.
or yeah, they're edited differently, or there might have been longer things. I don't know, whatever. Um, Hitchcock cameo. Did you see his cameo?
No, I did not.
Hitchcock's signature cameo appearance occurs around 28 minutes into the film. At the airport, he is seated in a wheelchair as he is being pushed by a nurse. She stops and he
Oh my God.
nonchalantly stands and greets a man, and proceeds to walk off screen with him.
I'll be there.
I don't remember that at all,
Yeah, I
so
missed
I
that.
don't know what 28 minutes in, I don't know where that
I
would be
don't
at.
know. Maybe it
Uh
wasn't in my version of it.
Maybe I don't remember it, so I don't know. The longer 143-minute, which is the one I watched, version of the film has since been released numerous times on DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K in the US and UK. Most other countries worldwide have the shorter theatrical cut on DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K. So, I just happen to have the longer cut, which I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I was like,
Well,
whoa, this is long, for a Hitchcock movie, and now I realized it really was long for, like, it was
yeah.
not supposed to be that long, I don't think. Um,
Yeah. Well, I wasn't really confused. I took extensive notes, but I guess we just watched different movies.
Mhm. It's fine. Uh, it's kind of funny because we had to review a movie for Film Freaks. My friend Andre and I did. He had never seen the movie, right? That I had to review, and I had the choice between the theatrical version or the director's cut, which was longer, of the movie. I
Uh-huh.
chose to go with the theatrical cut because that's what everybody else, saw, right? Well, I don't want to do the director's cut of something if somebody had never seen the original, and everything. And it was a great movie. It's called Almost Famous. I don't know if you ever seen that movie or not.
Almost Famous.
Yeah,
That sounds familiar.
it's a
Uh,
fun movie. It's about Cameron Crowe and his real life. Like it's kind of an
oh,
autobiography,
yeah, I
you know,
think I did see
a,
that one.
a fictional version of like him when he worked for Rolling Stone as a kid,
Yeah.
and stuff and got to go on in real life he got to be with some of the amazing like the Eagles and some of the greatest bands out there and everything, Led Zeppelin and all these other bands, and got to go tour with those guys. And I was kind of jealous hearing about it because even though I'm not that into music as much as I'm into movies, man, that would be an epic like time, and stuff. Definitely worth writing a
Mhm.
movie about.
Right.
But anyway, this movie, I mean, it was okay. Like it wasn't the greatest Hitchcock movie, but it wasn't the worst. We've seen worse. I mean, I feel like we keep saying that, but we have seen worse, movies from Hitchcock, I think. This is sort of I think it was just kind of I don't know, there was a lot going on, of it. You know what I mean?
Yes,
And so
there certainly was.
you had to watch it a few times. You said there's a lot of people, there's a lot of characters that you had to like follow, and
Yeah.
so it can make the movie seem like
Well, the pacing, rapid pacing too. You had to be on your toes to stay with it. Jeez.
there was a lot going
I,
on. There was a lot.
I had, yeah,
They
I
really
stopped
packed
the
it in.
movie. Every couple minutes, I'd have to stop the movie and write my notes because it was too fast to keep writing. And
I'm glad
so
you do
anyway,
that
but
because I don't do that. I don't
well,
know.
you have this excellent memory because you're half my age.
Yeah, it's funny because
But
I haven't even seen it since when I first watched it, like almost 2 weeks ago. So like I watched it on like a Saturday or Sunday or whatever, and I was like, I was in the mood to watch it, before our review,
yeah,
and then I can still remember a lot of the scenes, especially when you bring things up. I'm like, oh yeah, 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 I know that, like that happened, you know.
oh, that's good. Well,
It was fun. I liked all the actors. It's weird because I just read that Sean Connery was his number one choice to play the main guy, Devereaux, and I'm like, uh, Sean
did they
Connery?
ever work together?
I don't did they? I don't think
I
so.
don't know.
I don't
It's
think
a
so.
good question.
That is a good question. I don't think so. But he wanted Sean Connery, and Sean Connery turned it down. Probably because at that point, he was done being a spy character, I think
Yeah,
he was done being
yeah.
and 60,
Didn't
well,
want to be
maybe not, but yeah, because he still did Diamonds Are Forever in 1971 and the Anderson tapes, which I have. Um So yeah, but like I guess once again, he doesn't want to just keep doing that, right? Like he's a typecast.
typecast.
So I think that's probably why he turned it down. But oh, he did. Remember he was in Marnie.
Marnie?
We reviewed that already. Marnie. So he
Okay.
did work with Hitchcock, but he worked with him in 1964. So Hitchcock was probably like, I liked working with him. Let me see if I can get him for this one, just to get a
Oh
name.
God.
And I had sent you a quote from Leonard Moulton. Um, Let me see if I can find it. But I sent you a quote that Leonard Moulton said. Okay. Um, he said, and I think, as I say, it's a very daring film to have tried. Some people saw Hitchcock as losing touch, but really what he may have been doing is making more personal films. He may have lost touch with the mass audience, yes, but perhaps he was narrowing his focus to things that concerned and stimulated and entertained him. That's what Leonard Moulton said. And I agree. Like, I think people thought he was losing it as old age at that time, and whatnot. And maybe he wasn't making the movies that the studio wanted to make, but he was starting to make movies that he wanted to make. Because I think after
Uh-huh.
Psycho, he was just like, where what else do I need to do? I've done North by Northwest, Psycho, like he's had these huge hits, and why can't he just make something he wanted to make?
Right. Sure.
All right, well, that's about it. That wraps up the episode, I would say. Let's see. What is next? I've got it listed. So we just did number
You
17, Sabotage, and Topaz. Um,
you have Easy Virtue? Is that the next one?
That is the next one. Easy Virtue is
Oh.
next in April. So, I don't know anything about that other than it's one of his older movies, you know? So, and it's been remade, by the way. Um,
Yeah.
it's been remade in 2008 with Jessica Biel, which is really funny because Jessica Biel was also in that Hitchcock, like the movie about Hitchcock that Anthony Hopkins starred in. So it's
Uh-huh.
like, oh, she gets to act in an actual Hitchcock like remake, too.
Oh,
It's based on a Noel Coward play. So is that a comedy? No, it's a drama
could be.
romance thriller. I thought
Huh.
Noel Coward did comedies. I
Well,
guess not.
maybe eventually. Who knows?
I guess not. Well, he did like Brief Encounter, which wasn't really a comedy. You know, he had done a bunch of different stuff, but um, anywho, I'm excited to check that out. I guess you can watch it on Plex, Bossum, or I'm sure it's on like YouTube, honestly, because it's one of the older movies that's I think public domain by now, you know.
Uh-huh.
So I'm
Yeah.
excited. No. So next month we'll do Easy Virtue, everybody. So if you guys stuck around this long, you'll know what it is, and you guys can watch it on your own before we review it. So we're not spoiling anything. Huh, you know. And man, I'm
Yeah.
afraid to like post anything. Like I'm watching that movie and then somebody will be like, "Oh, the ending had this happen." I'm like, stop. Stop telling me these things.
Right.
I'm watching it right now. You know? Why would you do that? You know? Oh well, it is what it is. All right, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Join us next month for a brand new episode of Hooked on Hitchcock. Until then, everybody, bye.
Tally ho.